I think of my creativity as a recipe where there are multiple ingredients and aspects, and usually there's one ingredient that holds it all together, and that is Magic Mind. But we'll talk about that later in the video. What's up, Prop Mob? I'm Eduardo Talbert, and you, me, all of us are the Prop Mob. So if you're new here, this channel we make all kinds of stuff, but mostly Halloween and creepy horror props, but all kinds of stuff in the creative space. Now, as the title of the video says, today I am addressing one of the questions that I get the most. So I meditated on it. Really what I did is I took 2 months off from the Halloween season, so November, December, and that was one of the things that I've been kind of exploring to see what it was, and I distilled it into 5, maybe 6 points that are huge for me. Let's get to it. These are the things that I use to stay creatively fit, if that's a word, right? Now, the next 3 tips are about taking care of that engine, that vehicle that carries the curiosity. So if you're a sprinter like Usain Bolt, what he wants to focus on is sprinting, right? To get as fast as possible. So he doesn't need to be worrying about other things. So he has to make sure that his diet is right, his exercise is right, his mindset is right. The same thing with creativity. For it to be ready to perform, your mindset has to be ready to create, to learn, to absorb, and then to process and spit that out into the world. One of the biggest things in the self-care required for creativity is rest and sleep. Resting in between chores with something either mindless or that totally changes the subject of what you're doing is essential to let the stuff that you're working on go to the background, to the back burner, get churning, letting the subconscious mind do its thing. And when you come back to it after your rest, then you'll have some solutions, or they'll appear at the weirdest times. But you have to set it aside and focus on something else to let your brain do what it does best. And that is process things in the subconscious using the stuff that you put into it on your conscious. Rest to me is super important, and also those break times, which for me is when I take a shower. To me, that is the absolute best time when ideas come to me. So you gotta also find out those times when the ideas come to you and try to nourish those times. In the shower is the sound of water, maybe some music and nothing else. There's no phone calls, no text, no email, nothing, and not even sound distractions. It's just a noise, so you're inside of your head. To the point that I got a waterproof notepad where I write my ideas. That's when that happens for me. Okay, so that rest, those breaks are extremely important. I want to know in the comments from you, what are those times for you? The second thing for me is a combination of nutrition and supplements. Okay, and this is not the thing of just this type of diet or that type of diet. For me, the nutrition is just balanced. I don't have a diet. I try to eat it as balanced as possible. The occasional vegetable, cheeseburgers, that to me is just a beef and cheese salad because there's bread, lettuce, tomato. So I balance that a little bit, but most importantly is, for example, coffee in the morning. That's a stimulant, which is good to get you going. And it gets all of you going, but more coffee doesn't mean more creativity necessarily, because then you start getting jittery, and that takes away from your mind because your body's jittery, you're feeling it, you're getting distracted that you're jittery or whatever the feeling is. So I found a supplement that brings me to this video's sponsor. So excited that they decided to send me a sample because I love the stuff, and it's called Magic Mind. And I'll open it here in a second, but Magic Mind is like a power shot, looks like this. And you have ingredients like matcha, some adaptogens, nootropics, and agave. These are all natural. It has like some mushroom extracts and so on. And the reason I'm telling you this is because this feeds my brain like a ton of creativity, focus, and flow. So get creative. For example, I wanted to make a wallet, and this is from personal experience. right? So this wallet here. Now, if you look at these, all those stitches were done by hand, one by one for hours. And after I started with this, I had absolutely no problems. On this one, I decided to put some red leather and then some embossed leather here on the side, as you can see over here, right? So that was the creative part. And then the flow part is when I started sewing this, I didn't even notice time pass. And the other thing that to me is amazing, the true story just happened this past weekend and the weekend before. I just bought a place in Kentucky to go and chill and to do some videos and just to relax. But it was a well-used place. So what happened is they turned the water on for the inspection. The inspection went, passed with flying colors. Everything that was vital was working. And then the water stayed on, right? And then we closed a week later. Well, during that week, the freeze happened.
I'm declaring a state of emergency in anticipation of this Arctic front.
And we had a burst pipe. That would have been so discouraging and dissuading to me. But I arrived there 2 weeks ago, tried to start the water dripping everywhere, right? I'm doing a whole vlog about it. You're going to love about this disaster. And so I went and Googled and YouTubed how to fix PVC, CPVC specifically. So I found out, so I went and fixed a little leak. I replaced a little piece of PVC, put a new elbow. I learned how to glue it, and so on. So that part was like driven by some sort of curiosity and flow and energy, because it was 40 degrees, it was raining. There was nothing cool about getting under that house in the crawl space that was about this tall, right, to fix those pipes. So I fixed it, turned the water on, and another one exploded. As you can see, I'm still battling some of the leaks. So I turned the water off, figured out how to fix that one. This one was different because it had elbows, T's, and all kinds of connections. And it just basically exploded. I realized after a few attempts, like 8 of them, that almost every single pipe that was exposed under the house had ruptured during the freeze. And this is just to say that all these tips, including the supplement, allow me to go ahead and do that with absolutely no issues. That was actually exciting. I was under the house on Saturday, a week ago, from noon until about 5:30 p.m. I didn't get out of there. It was 40 degrees, it was wet and muddy, I was covered in mud, and I was going from leak to leak to leak, fixing them. I didn't realize where those 6 hours, 5 hours went. And the last tip is that has to do with taking care of the machine that creates the creativity, is just exercise. And I used to run a lot. I don't anymore, but like I said, try to keep it balanced. So I at least walk. I got under the house for 6 hours, lifting tools, moving back and forth, crawling, like a soldier in a battlefield. So number one is to stay curious, and that goes together with always learning, and then try to do what you love the most. It's very hard to increase your creativity when it's something that you don't like. Creativity does not exist in a vacuum. It doesn't show up. It is a function of all your experiences mixed together. So if you learn a lot about cars and you study engines, you might be able to come up with a new design for a variable timing cam, for example. Whereas somebody that is not into cars might never be able to come up with a new idea for a piston shape or anything if they don't have that knowledge. Because all that knowledge, all that learning, and that curiosity cross-pollinates in your brain, and then something along the way triggers an improvement or something new or something unusual, and that's where creativity happens. Now for me, I am extremely curious about how everything works, and so I like to learn about it. I've gotten into a few endeavors in this 2 months that I've been gone. I made some masks. One thing I wanted to do is my wife one time got me a really cool leather wallet, and I absolutely loved it. All of a sudden, I have this new curiosity, new passion. I watched a few videos, I got a few basic supplies, and I made some leather stuff. Right, so that, and then this one, it's just an M for Monster Tutorials. So I started my own brand of like leather goods and other bespoke stuff like the masks and everything that are custom made. And all that was because of that curiosity, that desire to keep learning. So that is my number one thing is stay curious, keep learning, and do what you love. Now, this next tip is for me. I've experienced it myself. I don't know if anybody else does, but before I shoot a video of a tutorial, let's say we're making a tombstone or a coffin or a graveyard, I imagine that execution in my head. I visualize the materials that I need, the process, the color, how to paint it. And a lot of that you imagine is from that knowledge from the first point of being curious and learning. For me, I visualize from beginning to end. And usually most projects for me are already made and finished in my head. So visualization for me is crucial. I see almost every project in my mind before it comes to be manifested into the physical world as stuff.
Those are great tips, man. Wish I had those back in my day.
Number one, and most important, be curious, keep learning, and do what you love. Number two is visualization. Now we go into the self-care ones, which is rest, supplements. Thank you, Magic Mind. You don't have to commit to buy a month supply, right? It's like a subscription thing. You can get one of the samplers, and this is the sampler. It comes with 3, so that, I don't want you to buy this if you don't like it. So try the sample, and if you like it, then I recommend you use it because it works for me. And you guys know that I don't recommend anything that doesn't work for me. And the last thing is just your physical activity. So exercise and activity. And the last thing is to find out through self-reflection those moments when you're most creative. So those are my 5 tips. I hope they help. 5 plus 1. Thank you to my sponsor, Magic Mind. Try it. The coupon and the links are below. And I'll see you on the next one. I have that episode about the plumbing nightmare coming next. See ya.